right, let's. Wonderful. Okay, so today we start with, and hopefully today we will try to answer the question that why we are learning this thing and how is it going to help us. So till now I had written everything in sheet 1. Today onwards I'm going to create a new module and write everything in a module, and then little later, after a few classes, I'll tell you why writing in a module is beneficial and what's the difference between writing on a sheet versus this workbook versus a module. So in order to create another module, because this module already had that code of recorded macro, I'm going to go to insert and click on module. So once I click on module, this module 2 is there, and I'm going to work over here from today onwards. So today what we are going to start is working with the objects. There are a lot of objects when it comes to Excel VBA, but we will be working with something which is mostly used. Like I would say 99% of the time, these will definitely be there, and others may also be there. So once you click on your Excel icon, what opens? Once you click on your Excel icons, what open up?
Asking for blank workbook or something like that.
Workbook, right?
Yes.
So our first object is going to be workbooks. Inside a workbook, what do you see?
Worksheets.
Worksheets. So that's our next object we should be learning. Inside a worksheet, what do you work on?
Cells.
Cells, but a group of cells
Ranges.
is called a range, and then we have cells, and then we also will be working with pivots, and we will be working with charts. So these are the main 6 objects that I will be making you go through. Once you understand working with any of the standard objects, and these are used frequently, then in future if you have any other object that you want to work with, it is not going to be difficult because the process remains the same, right? But the object's name is workbooks, worksheets, range, cells, pivot, and charts. Okay, pivots has a lot of components in it. Now, how do we write or how do we work with these objects? The way we write in objects is objects.method, or we write object.property. Okay, what do you mean by method? Method is basically the process applied on the object. I'll give you one example and I'll request you guys to give me example. Example could be, I want to close a workbook, right? What is the object in this case?
Close a workbook.
Object is
Workbook.
workbooks. Okay. And what is the method I'm applying on it?
Close.
So close. Simple. So if I have to write it, how will I write it? I'll write workbooks dot close. Object dot method or object dot property. Method is a process being applied on the object. Like I want to close a workbook. So object becomes workbooks, method becomes close, and I write it as workbooks dot close. Can somebody else give me an example of a method and an object?
Hide and unhide.
Hide and unhide is actually it's a property. It's not a method, unfortunately. It's a property called visible, under which we do hide and unhide.
Okay.
What else?
Run a macro.
When you run a macro, yes. Run macro. It's a yes. What else?
Rename the worksheet.
Select range.
Renaming is again property. It's not a method. Name is a property.
Okay.
Saving the workbook.
Save a
Clear.
workbook. Correct.
Opening a workbook.
Open a workbook. Correct.
Clear data.
Clear content. Correct. Clear content. When you do clear content, what is the object?
Content.
Object will be range of this.
Range is the object. So clear content you do on what? You do it on a range. So range is the object, and what are you doing on it? You're doing clear content on it.
Okay.
Right? And I have open and save. Correct. And
Clear content range, we can also apply for range, copy or paste.
exactly, copy and paste. So range can have a copy or a paste, cut, paste. All of these are methods. Okay, so I think methods is clear to all. What am I defining it as a method? Correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Now let's talk about the property part. So what is a property? Property is basically the characteristic of a method, of an object. Characteristic of object. Like some of you gave an example, like Govind had given an example of hide. So hiding is done by a property called visible. And from there, we can assign different values to this property, make it true, makes it unhide. If I make it false, it hides it. So visible, which is the object involved, Govind? You had already told me. Visible is a property and the object would be?
Range.
No, you can't hide and hide. You can hide and hide a column, but not a range per
Column
se.
or row. Yeah.
Column or a row, and I think what he was talking about was worksheets. That's why I said it's a property. Okay, what else? Delete a cell, delete a row, delete a column are methods. Correct, Manoj? Absolutely correct. What else? Like Shweta had given an example of name. So name is again a property. Which objects can have a property of name? What can you name?
Name
You
a
can
worksheet.
Workbook.
Workbook, you don't name a workbook. You save as a workbook. So name is not for workbooks. And your range, your sheets, your cells, right? Those will have range. Again, like a workbook, you do a save as. Because you can't say workbook not name equal to this. If I want to change the name of something, I have to do a save as. Think about what you do in Excel. And similar things are only going to exist in VBA. Another thing could be value of a cell. Yes, Tarun.
Conditional formatting is a method or a property?
Conditional formatting is method. Because what you're doing is applying color on the cell. But the end product is kind of a property because you're working with the format of a cell. So anything to do with the format of cell is actually a property. Even now I'm confused when you say like that. We'll check whether it's a method or a property.
So if we are putting some formulas, that will be a
that is
method?
A property. That's a property. Why? Because you're assigning a value to a cell, and value dot formula, these are all properties. Okay. See, whenever it comes to property, you have to assign a value to you to the object, or you are trying to retrieve the value of a property. Like, what is the name of a sheet? So name is still a property, but I'm trying to ask what is the name of a sheet. Or if I say, let's name this sheet as test 1, then I'm assigning a value to the name. So in property, it's pretty much you have to assign a value, you retrieve a value. But in method, nothing like this is there. All right. Now there are more than.
If we are saving workbook, then we are also writing the name of the workbook, that it will be a property.
We can't name like say, think about it, let's go back to Excel. I can select this, I can name this range, I can go over here, I can change this name, right? But I can't just go and change this name. How can you change this name? Through Excel, how do you change this name? You do a save as. You do a save as. Right? So as it is in a Excel workbook, you can't just go and change the name of a workbook. Right?
Ishani, I didn't understand why visible
is a property.
Is a property. Yeah.
It is a property because see, it's not that you can't say, see, like I said, when it comes to methods, you don't assign any value to it, right? You just say close it, open it, things like that, save it, clear it, delete it. But when it comes to property, you assign values to it. So visible, the way the syntax of visible is, for example, if I want to hide sheet 2, I'll have to write dot visible, and then I have to tell what I want to do with this property. Do I want it to be visible? Do I want it to be not visible? Or then I have to write false if I don't want to make it visible. So I'm assigning a value to it. Right? Similarly, like font or a format, color, font size, font, all these you have to assign some values to it.
So, Ishani, if you're running macro, then why the running macro is called a
because you are saying run to a macro. Macro is it's not an object really. It's not an object, right? It is not an object. So run macro cannot be there. I'll see if macro is there because there are more than 200 objects that are there in Excel VBA. Pretty much anything and everything you touch. For example, in pivot itself, there are pivot items, there are pivot fields, there are pivot table, there's pivot cache. 4 objects are there, which I know of inside a pivot itself. Okay, so how do you know all these 200 objects? Guys, please mute. So if I put in Excel VBA object model map.
Imran, could you please mute yourself?
Imran, please mute yourself, man. You will use this video later on.
So if you look at this website that has opened, and if you look at the left side, it says object model. So these are all the objects of VBA. So if you think smallest thing like a grid line, format condition, format color, all of them are called object. Okay. So if I want to work on a particular object and I want to understand more about it, then typically I would always visit this website. So I'm going to copy this and put this in notes as well. And the way I would work is I would go to that particular, let's say I'm going to start working with workbooks object. So when you click on it, it is going to differentiate between methods and property. So we click on it, it tells you what it is. It's a collection of workbook objects currently open in Microsoft Excel. And then it gives you examples, workbooks.close, workbooks.add, and then it gives you a neat list of what are the methods and what are the properties of it. Right? If I want to look at any method or a property to understand how it works,
Ishani,
I can simply, yes.
Sorry to interrupt you. Ishani, I want to ask why it is saying workbook.add. But if we are
Add a new
adding
workbook,
workbook.add, it's a
to add a new
method.
workbook.
Okay.
Adding a new workbook, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So don't worry about that. I will take you through the most used ones very quickly. Okay. So just wanted to make sure that you understand that this is a very good help. This is one of the best places to understand about methods, properties, and the object. Once you understood how it works, how we have to write the basic syntax in VBA, then any of the object that comes across, you should be able to write it. Okay. Now, few more things before I can get into the workbook object. There is something. Okay, it's not an object of VBA, but let's say if I wanted to write the code in VBA where I say I want to throw a bottle. I want to throw a bottle. So how do I write it in VBA code? Obviously, it's not an object, but just to understand that we have understood what is an object, what is a method. What is an object? I want to throw a bottle.
Bottle.
Bottle. Correct. And dot. What am I doing to it?
Throw.
I'm going to throw. So this is method or a property?
It's a
Method.
It's a method. So I said I want to throw a bottle, right? Now, if I say I want to throw a bottle at a distance of 10 feet and an angle of 30 degrees, what am I doing? I'm telling you, okay, do this method, but I'm also specifying how to do it.
It's a property then.
Correct? No, it's a method only. But what I'm trying to make you understand is there are some methods that are available in Excel VBA where there is a method, but it also has certain arguments by which you can tell how to do that method. Right? So if I have to say that I have to throw it at a distance of, let's say 10 feet, I'll have to write the name of the argument which I'm working with. And when you assign a value to an argument, you have to use colon and equal to. So let's say I'm saying at 10 and an angle colon equal to 30. So this is the way we write it in VBA. Now to give a realistic example, let's say if I want to add a worksheet, how do you think I should write it? I want to add a worksheet.
Worksheet.add.
Wonderful. Worksheets, but S, okay, worksheets.add. Now it is going to add a worksheet, but if I give a space, do you see a bunch of syntax coming up?
Yes.
So these are the arguments I'm talking about. So I can add a worksheet. But where do you want to add? How many do you want to add? Which type of worksheet do you want to add? So these are certain things that we can further define. So these are all optional, whether you give it or you don't give it, right? If you don't give it, it'll add one by default, one worksheet at a default location, how it gets added to your Excel workbook, right? But if I want to specify that no, add it at this point, then I'll have to use this syntax. Let's say I want to add after colon equal to, I want to add after sheet 1. So I just can't say sheet 1. I'll have to use the object again, like worksheets, sheet 1, right? And I want to add 2 worksheets. So I'll have to use count colon equal to 2. Right? So add is a method only, but how to add it, there are certain arguments. So after is there, count is there. First, worksheet.add have these, but if I have workbooks.add, do I have the same syntax at the end?
No.
No,
No.
because in
No.
workbooks, it doesn't make sense, right? After a certain workbook, add it and add to workbook. So it's just a template that it is given as a argument. So each object has a different set of methods and properties, and each method may have a syntax or arguments to it. Some of them may not have some arguments to it. Okay, is this
Ishani,
part clear?
first we need to write the name of the object, then the process.
Then the method, yes. So
Method,
standard way
sorry.
of working is always this one. We write object.method or object.property.
Okay, this is a default syntax.
This is the default way of writing. You will see VBA code has all dots in it. We separate things with the dot.
Okay.
Right. Now, another thing. For example, if I ask you what should be the code if I want to delete a sheet.
Worksheet dot delete.
Worksheet dot delete.
Worksheet dot delete.
Dot delete.
Correct. Which worksheet will get deleted?
Sheet 1, sheet 2. Yeah,
The latest
Current sheet. Current
Which
sheet
sheet?
which we are working.
We need to
are-
mention that.
We need to mention that.
mentioned
So
it.
there
Yeah,
are certain objects like workbooks is a collection object because I can have 10 workbooks open at one time, right? In a workbook itself, there may be 10 worksheets. So it's a collection object. Pivots is a collection object. Charts are a collection object. So there are certain objects which fall into collection object. And I think we don't have to really memorize these things. Think about it. If I say open the workbook, what is a question you guys will ask me?
Which one?
Workbook.
Which one? Right? Obviously, because it's a collection, she'll ask me which workbook do I need to open. So there are objects which are collection objects. And when you work with a collection object, in order to work with a specific object, you have to either mention either the position or the name. Okay. Right now, worksheets.delete, what this will do, this will delete all sheets. So if I don't want to do that, if I wanted to delete a specific sheet, so I can say worksheets, let's say sheet 4.delete. So what I've done, I've referred using name, right? Or I could have said worksheets. If I was interested in sheet 4, deleting sheet 4, sheet 4 happens to be 1, 2, and 3, third position from the left. So I'll say 3.delete. So now I've referred to
The position.
position.
Ishani, just one quick question. Why we
Yes.
are giving the argument, after worksheets, it's, like before we did.
This is not
after
an
the-
argument. So this is not an argument. Argument will
Okay.
be which comes after the name of the method.
Okay.
Okay. Like I said, why we are doing this thing? Because we are working with a collection object. And in collection object, how would you specify which object in that collection I want to work with? So for that, you will have to give the name. Like again, when you add a worksheet, do you have to mention what is the name of the worksheet? No.
Yeah.
Right? There's a plus sign, you click on it and adds. So that's why you see there's nothing after worksheets over here. correct? But when I say delete a sheet, or if I say hide a sheet, then you will have to ask me which sheet should I hide or which sheet should I delete.
Yeah,
Correct?
that makes sense. Right.
So the way we are working in Excel, it's almost the same way. Excel also, VB also helps you quite a bit. How does it help you? For example, let's say if I say worksheets and I said sheet 5 dot add, is it coming up as a choice?
No.
It's not coming up. Versus if I said worksheets dot add, now it's coming up. So VBA, I'm not saying this is a foolproof work, because there are going to be points specifically in pivots where this thing stops working. But 70-75% of the time, VBA does prompt you that what is a possibility and what is not a possibility.
Okay, Shani.
Okay. Any other questions regarding arguments, collection, how we are writing?
No, Shani.
Can you give us some example, like you have worked worksheet.add? Is it working? How it work?
How it works? Yes, we can do this thing. Let's run this program. So what should this program should do? It should add how many sheets?
2 sheets.
2 sheets after sheet 1, right? So
Right.
currently this is the scenario. This is my sheet 1, and then there is a sheet called macro. So let's run it. F5. 2 sheets got added, sheet 6 and sheet 7 after sheet 1.
Okay.
Right? Now we'll start working with the objects of workbook objects. So we'll see, okay, what are the typical things that we do with the workbooks. Like we are going to add a new workbook. Then we can count the number of open workbooks. We can save a workbook. We want to save a new workbook. How do you do that? Then we want to activate a workbook. We want to open a workbook. Right? Close a
Renaming
workbook.
a worksheet or workbook, in which category we will put?
Name is a property. And you
Renaming.
can only rename is name only. There's nothing called rename. It's name only.
And it's a property.
Okay. So let's say these are the things we want to learn. So add a new workbook. What do you think would work? Not to confuse you guys, but to make you think more on an Excel friendly manner, so that's less mugging up and more thought processes there. Which one will work? First one or the second one? Which syntax would work?
I think second one.
Yeah.
Second one.
But we haven't named.
First one.
So second one.
Both will work.
No, it's a second one, I think.
Second. And why
Second
second,
one.
Kshitij?
Because we, simply when we are adding a new workbook, it, does
Doesn't
not
have a
have a predefined
Absolutely.
name or something.
Absolutely. If something has a predefined name, what's the method? Is it add?
Yeah.
No.
What is it called? It's open.
Open.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right? So when you're adding a new workbooks don't have any name. So first one doesn't make sense. Okay, because it's not that I am going to add a workbook called abc.xls. If I'm doing that, I'm actually opening an existing workbook.
I thought that new workbook will open with a name so that
No, again, think about things which are possible in Excel. Pretty much anything which is not possible in Excel is not possible to do through VB also. Right? When you open a workbook, you don't have a facility of giving a name. You open a workbook, then you do a save as, then you fix the location and the name of a workbook. Correct, Arshad?
Okay.
Right? So same process is going to be followed here. Okay. Count the number of open workbooks. How do you think we should write it?
Workbook.count.
Number of sheets, sorry.
Workbooks.count, correct? No, nothing will come over here as a name or a position. No, nothing will come, right? But you have to remember, workbooks.count will give you what? A number as an output. Have you done programming where you have written 4 and 5 and went to the next line? till now, have you done any programming where you just written a number and you went to the next line?
No.
Never.
No.
So whenever a number is getting returned, what are you doing with it?
Message box.
Message box or a variable, right? Either
Yeah.
way, you will have to utilize it somewhere. You just can't leave a number and move out.
Yeah.
So
That's
with
how it will display.
exactly. So with the count, with dot count, you will always need either a message box to display, or you're going to put it in an Excel cell, or you will be putting it in a variable. But you need to do something with that value that gets generated.
So, Shani, I want to ask one more thing. It will workbook.count if it will show the all the workbooks present in C drive, D drive, or which?
No, only in your. So if you go back, it says, what is workbooks object? It is a collection of workbooks that are currently open in Microsoft Excel. Okay, so it only refers to the open workbooks. It is not going to refer to anything on your CD drive.
Okay, means
That's
it
why
will
we
not
need
show
not to mention
which
open.
workbook is open, only that workbook it will count.
But it could be multiple workbooks which are open, right?
Right.
So whichever workbooks are open, like in my case, I have only one workbook open, VBA Genpack. So it will count only one. But if I run this program at this time, it will add a new workbook and then give me a count of 2. So F5, it added, see book 1 got added, count is 2. So book 1 is also there now. Clear?
Okay.
Okay.
Shani, we have two works open right now as a VBA project and a solver as well.
Solver is not a workbook. Solver is an add-in in Excel. It's not a workbook, it's an add-in.
Okay.
Okay, see in the front I have book 1 and VBA
Okay,
Genpack.
Google.
Solver is not there.
Okay, Google. Okay, Google.
Huh?
Okay, Google.
Ankita, you are not on mute. Sorry.
Google needs to mute her. All right. She's so nice to Google also. Okay, Google. I wonder if I have that patience. All right. So save workbook. How would you save a workbook?
Workbook.save.
Workbook.save.
Workbook.save. Which
And name
workbook you're
as
saving, Tarun?
name as well.
You need to specify the name also.
You have to specify the name also. So it would be something like workbooks, abc.xlsx.save.
It will be saved as.
Don't.
It depends. It depends.
If we have
Whether
to-
you do a save or a save as, it depends, right? For example, if you want to save this workbook, would you do a save as? You do a control S.
But
Control
it
S
will
is
not
what?
rename the name. It will not rename the workbook, right?
No, it will not rename. It will not change the folder location also.
Right.
The path is
If
also
we want
there,
to
right?
rename it, we have to
Like
use
if
save
we have
as.
given the
Save
name
as.
here ABC, then we have to write it as save as. Then only it will rename.
Yeah, this I'm just picking arbitrary names. I'm not picking anything from the front end.
No, but
I'm
if
just
we
showing.
want to do that, if we
Then
want
you have
to
to
do
do a
that,
save as. Then you have to do a save as.
What about the location of this new work which is
So,
saved?
okay. So, for example, new workbook we have not reached yet. New workbook is the next one. But for example, if I wanted to rename this workbook, which is VBA Genpack MIS, okay, the way you will write it is workbooks. Let's say, oh, I don't want to write such a big name. Sorry, I'm being lazy. Dot save as, right? And if you go after save as, you see file name.
Yes.
And when you give a file name typically should have the path as well as the name of the file. Okay.
Okay.
So this is how you're going to do a save as. So if I just to show you how to do it, let's meet. Sorry, I'm being lazy. I don't want to write the entire name. So this is the name of my workbook. Copy. And
Shani, what's the formula that you used?
I'll sell. File name. Let's put it on where? Desktop. Or let's put it over here in desktop. Let's cheat this part also. This is my path. And I want to put it in VBA. And I want to make it. And I want to call it Ishani. Right? Yes. Let's try to run this.
But
But
Ishani,
before
I
that,
have one question.
let me
You
just
have-
run it in just see 1 second. Huh?
Okay.
F5. So you see, it got renamed,
Yes.
Yes.
right? And where did it get stored?
In C drive desktop.
We put it on the desktop. So this is the desktop and this is where the file is.
Okay.
Okay, so when you use the word file name, when you use this file name, you have to mention the path as well as the name. Got it? Yeah, now you ask me the questions.
Got it.
Understood, Ishani.
Earlier you have written that like workbook abc.xls
Dot save.
dot save. It will work.
Yes,
That-
this will work, but
Which-
what you're
which
doing
file
in
will-
that,
Which file it will save?
the abc.xls.
There is no abc.xls file.
Ashish, I'm giving a, it's
Okay,
just
okay.
like syntax part I'm doing. I
Okay,
don't
okay,
want to write these big names.
Okay,
That's
okay,
why.
okay. Got it.
Okay. But since I had to demonstrate how save as is working, that's why I went ahead and picked it up.
Okay, got it.
Ishani,
Okay.
can you please
Yeah, the
show
formula.
the formulas? Yeah.
The formula I used is called cell. And then I use in the cell. So what it does, it gives you the property of a cell. And I use the part of information I use is file name.
Okay, Shani, thank you.
Okay, then I did a paste special value so that I can copy paste things from here. All right. So this is there. Yes.
In ABC portion, we have to mention that path, right?
If you are saving an existing file, it already has a path, right? Any workbook which is open has a path.
Okay.
And Excel knows that. So when you do dot save, it is going to save with the same name in the same path.
Okay. So the first formula, first one is for the new workbook, right? Sorry, so the existing workbook.
Existing workbook, and you're just simply doing saving. You're not making any copy. You're not changing the name. You're not changing any locations.
And the lower one is used for the when we are saving any workbook for the first time.
No. Yes, you can say when you're saving it for the first time, but the first time when you save, you don't have a name. Okay, I'll come to the new workbook. New workbook is the next thing. This is, for example, I had this file called VBA Genpack, and I wanted to change the name and the location of it. Then I'll use a save as in a file name. Clear?
Okay.
Okay, and I'm going to close this. Still, this will be a confusion otherwise. One second. Half my code is there, half my code is here.
You have to rename that again.
No, I'm not going to rename. I'm just going to open it and pick up my code.
We should have saved that file first, then rename.
No, I saved that file, but I just need to pick up my code from here now. This is Shani. Okay, all this thing that I did, I think the save part is from where I started to change things. Copy this, go to this one, and paste it over here. Right? Okay. All right.
Ishani, I missed that save part. So when we are saving a workbook, again we have to give the path and all.
No. So for example, you did something over here, right?
Yeah, it's already there. Yeah.
And you do Control S. This is dot save. Because it knows the name, it knows the path. But when you go file save as. This is dot save as, where remember we have to give the name and you give the type and you are trying to give the path also,
Right.
because you have to decide in which folder you want to keep it. So this is save as, but you create a copy of it. Okay.
And my one question, sorry to interrupt. In this, like we have to dot save. We have to write the name of the file, right?
Correct.
Which file
you
we
want
want
to save.
Okay.
Correct. Now, when you have a new workbook, like this, for example, book 1, how will I save this book 1? So whenever, look over here, I'm going to close this workbook. Let's say I want to add a new workbook. Before I add a new workbook, how many workbooks do I have right now? Only one?
5.
One workbook.
Yes,
workbook.
Workbook 1.
Right, one workbook. I press Control N, it opens up a workbook. Which is the active workbook now in Excel?
Yes, right.
This
Book
one?
one.
This
The
one,
new
book
one?
2.
Book
Yes.
1. Book 2.
Right? Book 2 is a new workbook.
Right.
And what is this? This is an active workbook, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So anytime you add a new object or you open an object, automatically that object becomes your active object.
Right.
Yes.
Right? So how do we refer to it? We can refer to it as active workbook because it does not have a name. Okay. And then active workbook, you can do a save as, because if you do save, what it will do, it will use the default name of book 2 and put it in wherever your default files are supposed to be saved. Right? But if I want to save it in a particular place with a particular name, I need to do a save as and give name.
Give name. Okay.
Right? Same thing, right? When you go over here and if you do save, it is going to take you, if I click on save, it is going to take, why is not going there? I have to pick a folder. But then, by default, it gets saved at a particular location, whatever is the default positions. And it will be named as book 2. But if I do a save as, it gives me an opportunity to, something is wrong over here. It gives me an opportunity to name it as well. Same thing that happens in Excel. But till the time it's not saved, the name does not exist, the file does not exist. So if you remember, I use this function called cell, right? To get the name of the file path.
File path, right.
Right? I went and did file name. In this case, it's going to come out blank. Why is it blank? Because it does not exist. It's not saved yet. If it's not saved, it does not have a path.
We can do Control S and then again write file, then it will be.
Then it will be filled. Correct.
Okay.
All right. So far, so good?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So again, I'm bunking this part, but it's not going to be, I'm just going to write default something. Hold on. Because if I leave it, probably you might think it is to be left. Okay. How would you activate a particular workbook? So I hope
active the workbook. Active workbook.
First the object, then the
Workbook.
method. Workbooks, do you need to mention which workbook or should I say workbooks.activate?
Need to mention which.
Mention.
We should mention, right? Because I may have 10 workbooks which are open. How many of 10 can be active at a time?
One.
Only one.
Only one. So you need to specify which one. So again, giving arbitrary name, this workbook does not exist. Dot activate. How would you open a workbook?
Workbook dot open. Workbook name. Workbook name and then dot open.
Okay, let's see. Workbooks. Let's give a name. ac.xlsx dot open. Is it coming up?
Open link.
No.
We need to give a path as well to from where.
Dot open. Now is it coming up?
Yes.
Yes. And again, like Kshitij was saying, absolutely correct. In this file name is optional or mandatory?
Mandatory.
It is mandatory. When you're opening a file with the same name, there may be 10 files sitting in different folders. Different extensions might be there, right? So when you're opening a workbook, the way to do is give a file name, and in the file name, you will give the path and the name of the file, the entire. So that's where your cells, the function of cells really come into handy. So for example, if I wanted this path. So I get this, copy, paste special value, because otherwise I won't be able to pick it up. Now, macro is what? Macro is a sheet. Do I need to know the sheet name when I'm opening a workbook?
No.
So I'll delete it. In Excel, the workbooks are denoted by square bracket, but we are working in VBA, so I don't need my square brackets. So I can delete this and I can pick up the path and the name of the workbook and then put it in the backend. Okay. For activate, do you need a path?
No.
No. No, we
Because
don't
it is
need.
already open.
Because
You can only activate something which is open. Open means path is already known. All right. And the last one, close. So workbooks dot close. This is also allowed. Workbooks ac.xlsx is dot xlsx dot close. This is also allowed.
But
So
if
what
we
is the
write workbook
difference?
dot
So-
close, it will close the current workbook. And if
No,
we
close
give
all the
particular
workbooks.
file,
Workbook dot close all the workbook.
workbook will
This
be
will
closed.
close all the workbooks and this will close specific workbook. Specific.
Okay.
In this case, the workbook name is AC, right?
Yes, yes. And again, all fictional work. There is no workbook called
Yeah.
AC.
The example, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Is it clear?
Yes.
Can we try to write a small code on this object? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And okay, let's do this. So it says write a program. I'll shift it to the code sheet. So write a program to add 2 new workbooks, display the total number of workbooks, open any workbook from your desktop and activate the workbook in which you're working. Remember why this last thing I've given to you? Whenever you add an object or whenever you open an object, automatically that new thing that got added or opened becomes the active object. So if I'm writing my code in VBA Genpack, but I open book 2 is active in the front, not VBA Genpack. So if I want to again make VBA Genpack as an active, I'll have to write the last line. Clear? So try to do this. You will need help from the codes above. So I'll just leave, I think this part, let's start. And it's one program. So don't send 4 different programs. You have to give me one program only.
Ishani, could you please paste the question on chat box?
Sure, I can do that.
Thank you.
But you guys need to take help of my screen for the syntax part right now.
Yes, yes.
You can't become experts immediately. It takes a little bit of hit and trial to learn these things.
We have to do it on my module only, right?
In module, let's start to do in module. Today we finish workbooks. On 3rd, we'll be working with worksheets. By 4th, you will know the difference between writing in various places.
Ishani, can you please move a little bit up? Just wanted to see the numbers thing.
The count.
Yeah.
This is the one.
No, somewhere you have mentioned 3 workbook or something.
Mhm.
No. Okay.
Because above this is only this sub workbooks object.
Add 2.
Two that you're talking about, I think, Kshitij, is worksheets. But remember, when you do workbooks.add, if you give a space, you will not get count. So you can't add to workbooks using count. That is a worksheet syntax. It's not a workbook syntax.
Mhm.
So if you want to add two workbooks, you'll have to write the syntax again.
Okay.
And if I had to add 10 workbooks, then
we need a shortcut.
and that is
Loop.
loop,
Yeah.
right? For loop.
Okay.
All right.
Ishani, I think from the beginning you are not writing on the same page. You are writing somewhere else.
I have
Where-
written in module 2,
And before that,
sheet 1.
Oh.
Today I've written everything in module 2.
no, because in the beginning of today you mentioned the date and object and all other
It's
which
there.
are
It's everything is there. It's on the top.
okay.
I just have put it over here because this is where you need to focus on.
Open any workbook from desktop. ABC.
No. What is the last question? VBA.
Can you please scroll some up, little up?
Up or down?
Up.
Up there is nothing.
No.
Ishani, we have to put all these in one program.
Yes. Just like how I had written.
Done, Shani.
Then please paste it in the chat.
Sure. I'm running. Okay.
You ran and it's working, right, Shweta?
Can't actually now activate. Okay, let me just post first.
Okay. You got an error?
I don't think count is 4 is correct.
Count 4 is not correct.
It is open.
You opened 2 workbooks also, right?
It's 4 worksheets are open. Okay.
4 are open. Achha, the thing
2 plus 2 4. One is already active one and book 1, book 2. Okay. Let me just show you if you want.
Yeah. Please.
So now it's saying 6. Huh?
Just show once.
Okay.
So you have 4, 5, 6 workbooks open.
Yeah, 6. It just showed 6.
Now if you run it, it will show you 6 plus 2, 8.
Yes, yes.
Right? And then it will give you an error saying this workbook is already open.
Yes.
Holiday list.
It was there, yes.
Okay. And so do one thing, close this holiday list. Try to close all these extra workbooks.
See, this one is open.
Close the holiday list also.
Yeah.
Okay. So now you have one workbook open. So let's run it. So 3, correct. 1 was there, 2 added. And then it opened and it's giving subscript out of range. Okay. Why is it giving? Click OK once. It did open, so it means it got stuck. Okay, when you are activating, don't give the path because the file is already open.
Oh, yes.
Okay, you're giving the path, that's what causing you the problem. Now, second thing is, Shweta, that you are, when you open a workbook, that automatically became your active workbook. Right?
Yes.
So the thing that I wanted is this macro exercise 1 that you're doing, that had to be activated. The workbook in which you're writing the code has to be activated.
Okay. Then it's
okay.
This
Give the name of that workbook over there, and you don't have to give a path when you're activating something.
Understood. This was really helpful. Thank you.
Can you?
Ashish, you done?
No, I have done open and number of counts. After that question, I want to see the question.
The question is, I think open and count everyone has done. Now open any workbook from your desktop.
Okay.
And then activate the workbook in which you're working. So once you open the workbook from the desktop, that automatically becomes the active workbook. So I want to activate the workbook in which I'm writing the codes.
Okay.
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 Thank you, Ishani.
You're welcome. You have gone into set and all, huh, Gunjan? What is this save CNHNES? What does it do? Close dot. Gunjan?
Sorry, which one?
What does this mean? Let's say workbooks AB dot save. Sorry, dot close. Oh, is it save changes?
That's the argument.
Oh,
yes.
but
That
then
means
the
to close
spelling
without
mistake is
saving.
there, right? Spelling mistake is there.
Yeah. Yep.
You've written by hand. That's what I was thinking. Is it save changes? I was like, this is something new. Save changes.
No.
Okay. So using variables for objects also, which is good. Makes your life very easy. I don't never write debug.print, which you do. I think again, programming is everyone's own signature style.
Actually, I don't prefer getting the dialog box. Rather, I use the console output for debugging.
Yeah. That's what, I was doing one training with some HSBC folk and he knew coding and he used to use VBA. So whatever code I wrote, he wrote in a very different fashion, which I found very difficult to understand. He found my coding very difficult to understand. I was like, it's just coding style is what you adopt in the beginning is what you keep. Reading someone's code is a task. I rather write my new code.
So is there any other way to do this? Because this is the simplest I can think, Ishani.
No. It's just like, how if you look at Gunjan's program, he doesn't use message box. He used debug.print. I never use debug.print. So different, like that's what we were saying, everybody has their own, like he is using objects, variables and objects. I would not do for such cases, but yes, later on I will teach you and we will also use objects and we will store them in variables. But, don't worry about it. Everybody has a different style of coding.
Shani, can I share my screen? Just wanted to
Sure.
show. So I'm getting this. I tried to use
Send is
loop.
not possible to be moved, renamed or deleted. What are we doing? Click on end. Okay.
So I think it
Remove
worked.
the.
It opened
You added
3
two
workbooks.
workbooks.
I mean, I added 2, but it opened 3 blank workbooks. And
Oh, okay. I'll tell you why. You have set for I is equal to I to 2. And
okay,
every
by
time the
default
value
it's
of I
0,
is,
0
yes.
and 2.
So make it 1. So that is one thing that will get solved for I is equal to 1 to 2. And then in workbooks dot open, there is a square bracket before your name, Kshitij.
This will
So
not be there.
remove the square bracket. Square bracket.
Okay.
Yes. And VBA Gen Pack, MSC, VBA. Now run it. Now it's running fine. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And how can we ensure that the active workbook is the one we are?
So don't select it from here. Press Alt F11.
First I close this.
No, don't do anything. Now, if you touch from there, you already change. You are going to change the active sheets. One thing is that you are going and picking a workbook. Then you are deciding which is the active workbook. Versus if you just press Alt F11, it will take you to what is active in VBA, in Excel. Alt F11. Yeah, just to go back to Excel. Now, it is Genpack MISC. But if you go there and click, then you are activating it.
Yeah, right.
All right.
Thank you, Ashani.
You're welcome. All right, let me quickly do this program. Sanjeet is also done. Workbooks.add. Next I count.
Shani, I'm getting error.
Sanjeet, again, you've done the same thing. You opened a file and that file only you activated. As it is, that's an active workbook. Okay. Who is getting an error? Do you want to share your screen or do you want to show the code?
I will share my screen. Just
share the screen. All right.
Just a minute.
Workbooks open colon equal to doesn't come. Open colon will only come. So give a space, file name.
Given. Okay, colon we
Write the word file name. You're giving this value to file name.
Okay.
So write file name and then it would work. And remove the square bracket before Ashish. Now it would work.
Okay. Now I have to activate.
All right.
Okay, I will do that.
And the last part is activate.
Okay, I will do that.
Okay, let me do it over here also because I know very soon you guys will start to run. Workbook size. And first thing was add 2 new workbooks. Workbooks.add. You could put a loop or write it twice. And then you have to display. So message box workbooks.count to display the number of open workbooks. Next was to open a workbook from the desktop. This I've already done from here. So I'll just use the same thing. And then it was to, okay. From the desktop, let's say this is, I'm going to change the name. And this is the name of my current workbook. So I'm going to copy this and say workbooks. Now, when you're activating something, you don't need to put the path in there. Otherwise, that will throw an error at you. So dot activate, just the name of the file. And over here, I'm just going to change this name. This is already there. Okay. So this is how we had to do it. Any questions?
Shani, I'm getting.
So, Ishani, if we need to activate here, then we can select some other name, right?
If you want to activate, we just have to use the name. Yes. Okay, Deepika, few things of error. Number one, you have used a path in activate which should not be there, and in front of your name of the work book there is a square bracket, so remove that.
Okay,
And
sir.
Arshad, same thing. You don't have to give a path when you're activating something.
Ishani, can you please show the first step opening of two workbook through loop?
You can, yes, sure. Something like this.
Okay, thanks.
And if you want, you can also have something like another variable which asks how many workbooks do you want to open and put it in X, and then you can have a loop from 1 to X if you want to make it dynamic. All right. Okay, so one request, I know it's New Year. So one thing I am going to request Vinay also, let's not have any test on 3rd. I think that's pretty
Yeah.
mean to have a test on 3rd,
Yeah.
starting a new year. So let's have it on a Wednesday or a Thursday when they're again settled back in the whole training program, and then we can have a test. We can decide that 5th or 6th. And only request to everyone, one and only request. I don't want you to study during this holiday season. My only request, before you come for the session on 3rd, just go through this particular sheet. Nothing else I want. The reason being that the way we are writing in workbooks is going to carry on in worksheets and ranges. So if you've forgotten what is method, how you put the dot, what is an argument, what is a collection, then it will bring us back to square one. It's my only request, just read this page and come back on 3rd.
Yes, Shani.
Sorry, Shani.
There's no assessment on 3rd. Enjoy yourself. Be
Thank
safe.
you.
And,
Thank you.
Thank you, Shani.
thank
Happy
you.
New Year,
Wish you
Shani.
all a very happy New Year, guys.
Yeah.
Thank
Happy
you,
New
Shani.
Year.
Happy New Year,
Thank you,
everyone.
Shani.
Thank you, Sunny.
Happy